So, aesthetics and why materials are chosen for aesthetic reasons. Now, this might seem very obvious, but it's important we can analyze this. Let's just look at the bucket and spade here. Um, so, the reason that, say, plastics might be chosen for an application like this, especially children's toys, is because aesthetically, they're actually polymers are brilliant because they're so easy to color. Like you can literally just put in some pigment into the plastic granules during the production process, and then you can pretty much achieve any color you could want with the polymer. So if you're wanting to make multicolored kids toy sets, it's super easy to just have a load of colors. Think about Lego. Like Lego, when they make when Lego design Lego models, they can pretty much get them to the point where they look pretty real, like pretty realistic to whatever it is that they're replicating. So the reason they can do that is because plastic is so easy to work with in terms of its aesthetics, and also the finishes you can apply to it. Like when plastic is injection molded, the mold tool itself can have a range of different textures applied to it. So it might be, I mean, in this instance with the kids' toy, it's got a polished finish, but it might be that you want to have, say, a textured finish or a matte finish or something. And that can all be done as part of the injection molding process, because the inside of the mold tool can just be either polished, or it can be made matte or whatever. And yeah, and with that you can get a wide range of different finishes. Yeah, and it's also really easy to print things onto plastic, what we call pad printing. So, yeah, often you see kids' toys. Like you imagine this bucket might have a smiley face on it or something like that. So it's very very easy to print graphics onto plastics as well, just because you can get a very very smooth shiny surface texture with plastics. And yeah, and it's just incredibly easy to work with. So that's really why plastics are great for aesthetic purposes. However, we don't stop there. Now let's think about textiles for a second. Now this is I don't actually know which Bentley this is, to be honest. I'm just going to bring this to the front. So this is a Bentley, and Bentley brands like Bentley and Aston Martin and stuff. They're known for being very sort of traditional and very grounded in history and celebrating their history. And what's interesting here is that Bentley and Aston Martin, the choices of materials that they use very much evoke the aesthetic of the whole brand. So here, even the color that they're choosing of the leather, like the tan that they're using, and I mean, why do they even use leather at all? Like I remember back when I was a kid, pretty much all car seats were just like made of fabric, and looking back on it now, they were just like cheap, tacky, nasty. They didn't look very nice. And yeah, they just I don't know, they just didn't look, and didn't feel very nice. Whereas aesthetically, you look at a car interior like that, and you can almost smell the leather, like, and that really sort of lovely leathery kind of smell that you would get if you got into that car. And that's the whole idea with the aesthetic, is it's how does it play with your mind and how your mind perceives this product. So yeah, I mean, in that instance, the choice of leather for the aesthetic purposes of a car like this is excellent, because it really evokes that like classy, traditional, extremely exclusive and highly sophisticated look. And that's generally what leather does with products. It sort of elevates a product up to a certain sort of slightly more sort of classy level, I guess. Yeah, and that the same goes with other materials, even like timbers. Like, I mean, timbers are interesting because there's such a wide range of them, but um, yeah, they can actually be. Sorry, I'm just going to bring this to the front as well. Um, what's interesting with timbers is they come in so many varieties. Now, some timbers look pretty cheap, like pine. Pine still looks nice, but it's known for being a fairly inexpensive wood. Whereas ones like this is walnut. Now, walnut has a very, very unique and distinctive grain, and a lot of cars, especially more old-fashioned cars, like Rolls-Royce, even Mini, like the old Mini Coopers, used to use like walnuts for the dashboard inside, and it was walnut with like lovely chrome fittings like this. And this, I mean, it's almost a shame that they had to use plastic for these sections here, because in my opinion that just ruins it. Like yeah, it would be nicer if they'd used something more like ceramic or metal or something for these buttons. It would look so much nicer. But anyway, that's my own opinion. But yeah, this is kind of what they're going for here, is like they're trying to really promote that plush luxury interior. you could imagine if you had a lovely interior with leathers like that, and then suddenly had an all plastic interior, it would just jar completely with the whole aesthetic of what they're trying to go for. So, looking at a completely different example, architecture is an interesting one. So this is in Cambridge University. That's the chapel of King's College, Cambridge, and then this is just the back of, I think, Key's College, and just like a little alleyway that leads to it. Now, what's very interesting is, I mean, obviously these colleges were built like many hundreds of years ago, but you'll find in certain towns and cities around the world. I mean, I'm saying UK here, but like if you go say Oxford and Cambridge, for example, pretty much all the colleges, apart from a few, they're all built from basically the same stone. Now, this is limestone, and back when they were built, like limestone, it was expensive. It had to be quarried and it had to be hauled like long distances. And it was only like very important buildings that were made from limestone. So like palaces, massive like country houses for royalty or whatever. It was deemed to be a very sort of luxurious building material, and it still is now because it's very expensive to quarry. Um, but it has this beautiful sort of honey color and tone, and it's aged so well. Like even now we look at these and we think like that looks, really nice. And as a result of that, the look of that material for building is synonymous with sort of academia, with power, with strength, with wealth, sophistication. It's being created because it's been used by so many different buildings that are giving off that look. Like, there's a reason that these colleges were designed in this sort of either this Palladian manner here or more sort of this is kind of what we call perpendicular English style of architecture. But it's very interesting because it was all about communicating that look. Like, we're trying to look powerful and strong, and like we mean business, we are academic, we're serious. And so if you made them out of say concrete, just wouldn't have the same look. And that's why most universities you go to around the world, a lot of them, they take pride in having like old looking buildings on their campus, because with that it gives them a bit of clout and it makes them look a bit more sort of academic and all that kind of thing. So it's a very interesting aspect to how materials can be used to influence our perceptions of things.